Are you a lifelong fan of General Hospital?
Are you a new fan who wants to know more about the history of the show?
Do you enjoy talking about the show with others?
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV?
Is your self-care an hour a day in Port Charles?
If so, we invite you to join hosts
Amanda Kimmel
and Shannon Coach at the place where all the hidden conversations take place and secrets are revealed.
Meet us at Pier 54,
a General Hospital fan podcast.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the Port Charles 411. Today we are talking about the minor mob families in Port Charles. It's not going to cover all of the other mob families that we have encountered. For example, the Alcazars are left off it. I know that they're not really minor, but I feel like if they didn't have a longevity, they weren't
Right.
They weren't an older one that came back. They were one story, right?
That's
Well, I mean, I guess we could do a 411 on them and find that out.
There you go.
Because I see the Woos, we knew them from back in the 80s. The Jeromes were back in the 70s. You know, if they have decades or callbacks to. If they don't, then they're a minor family, which apparently these ones are. So there's going to be, I think, seven. Okay, 7 of them. And Amanda's going to get us started.
Only because Shannon has certain favorites that she wants to read.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with Alcazar mob family. The Alcazar mob family was a fictional mob organization on the ABC soap General Hospital, headed by Ruiz Alcazar and later by his brother Lorenzo Alcazar. They were a rival of the Corinthos Morgan mob family. Here we have double names there.
Yep.
The Alcazar crime family originated in South America under the command of Ruiz Alcazar. In 1998, Brenda Barrett's mother drove her car off the side of a cliff with Brenda inside, and Brenda and her mother were presumed dead.
Mm-hmm.
However, Brenda survived and was saved in the water by Ruiz. 4 years later, after holding Brenda captive all that time, Ruiz came to Port Charles with the sole intention of getting rid of Sonny Corinthos and Jasper Jacks due to his obsession with Brenda. Ruiz wreaked havoc all over the city, and his quest to get rid of Sonny and Jax resulted in the death of Alexis Davis's sister, Christina Cassadine, and the kidnapping of Felicia Jones and her children. This was good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He hired hitman Roy DeLuca to take out Sonny, but what he didn't know is that Roy and Sonny had already come up with a plan beforehand to fake Sonny's death at Roy's hand. They fooled Ruiz into thinking that Sonny was dead, so with a false sense of security, he moved in on getting rid of Jax. He tried several times to kill Jax and severely injured him, but before he could kill him, Sonny showed up and shot Ruiz. Ruiz was then put on trial for the attempted murder of Sonny, Jax, and Xander Smith, and the murder of Christina Cassadine, but the charges were dropped because he had friends in high places. Jason and Sonny began discussing how to take Ruiz out once and for all when Alcazar crashed a party at the Quartermain mansion held at in Brenda's honor. He got really drunk. When he left the party, he left in his limo driven by Jason. Jason was making moves to take Ruiz out that night, but Sonny called the hit off at the last minute when Jason's brother AJ started to get too suspicious. Several people threatened to kill Alcazar, and he got in confrontations with several people that night, including Brenda, but he was killed by Alexis when she paid him a visit and pushed him off the railing of his 14-story balcony. Yep, oops. I'm sure that was an accident. Jason and Brenda, while innocent, were put on trial for his murder, but they were cleared when Sky Quartermain remembered seeing Alexis in Louise's room. When Alexis went to trial, she faked having DID and was able to get out of the murder charge. I mean, that might be a reason why she shouldn't have her attorney's
I was going to say, I'm
but-
like, yeah, that's kind of more than just sleeping with your therapist.
Yeah.
And lying about it.
Right.
You lied about something to get away with murder.
Yep. Lorenzo Alcazar was an international arms dealer, an intelligent and powerful man with ties to mob families and high-ranking government agencies that made him a formidable force in the town of Port Charles.
I think it's important to note that Ruiz Alcazar and Lorenzo Alcazar, same actor, Ted King.
Yes.
So it wasn't just,
Right.
oh, he looks familiar. No.
No, they're the same.
Yeah.
Before he joined the family business, he was a history professor at Oxford University. After Lorenzo's wife, Sophia Germain, was tragically killed in a village by rebels, while Lorenzo was helping his older brother Luis out after a deal went wrong, Lorenzo blamed himself for what happened to Sophia and abandoned his life in England to become part of the Alcazar family business. I feel like that's a little backwards. I would feel responsibility for not protecting my wife because I was in the business, and so now I wouldn't want to be in the business. Instead, he took it the other way and was like, yes, this is a great idea. Years later, he came to Port Charles to avenge the death of his brother Luis. He learned that Alexis was responsible for Luis's death, but he did not go after her because she had no affiliation with the mob. Okay. Instead, he blamed Sonny, since Sonny was the reason why his brother came to Port Charles in the first place. Lorenzo became a thorn in Sonny's side and formidable enemy for the Corinthos Morgan organization. For years, he tormented Sonny professionally by trying to steal his territory and personally by getting involved with Sonny's wife, Carly Corinthos, and eventually marrying her. Dun, dun, dun. The war between Lorenzo and Corinthos' crime family expanded when Sonny and Jason took shipments Alcazar was delivering to his government handlers to secure his incarcerated son Diego's freedom, despite knowing Lorenzo only entered into the life to keep his son safe from the Ruiz mob family. Well, those are too close together.
Yes.
Ruiz mob family. Desperate, Lorenzo attempts to protect his son Diego, was presumed killed in 2006 by Sam McCall in a shootout between Alcazar's men and Jason, who was on the run with Sam when Rick Lansing and Lorenzo hired Damian Spinelli to cybernetically frame Sam for a crime she didn't commit. The death of his son left Lorenzo heartbroken and determined to make sure his daughter with Sky, Lila Ray, would never suffer the same fate as Diego due to the business. Whew, there's a lot of information there.
And there's more.
He decided at that point to leave the organization. However, after Lorenzo was shot in the head, he suffered temporary amnesia, which caused him to act uncharacteristically and incite trouble with Sonny. Sonny decided to finally deal with Lorenzo, and with the aid of Sky, who wanted Lorenzo out of her life, Sonny and Jason set up a plan to take Lorenzo out. Sky let Jason into their home, and he killed Alcazar. The aftermath of his death went on for months, and Jason went on trial for his murder, but eventually got off due to help from international criminal Jerry Jacks and Carly. Alcazar's murder trial also brought up speculation that he may still be alive, and this fabricated evidence is what cleared Jason during the trial. But in the end, Jerry confirmed that all the evidence they used to show that Alcazar wasn't really dead was doctored and fake. That's a weird combination too there, being friends. In 2008, it was revealed that Lorenzo's son Diego wasn't really dead, and he returned to Port Charles wanting revenge on Jason, who he blamed for his father's death, as well as revenge on every single person he deemed responsible for his family's death. He began terrorizing women in town by sending them text messages and then strangling them to death. Leticia Ruiz,
Yeah.
Michael's longtime nanny, was his first victim, but the intended target had been Carly. The pattern of Diego's attacks caused him to become known as the text message killer. He terrorized many women out of revenge, killed Jason's sister Emily Quartermain at her engagement party to Nicholas Cassadine, and later Georgie Jones, to which he later regretted, as her sister Maxie Jones was his intended target. Yeah, because Georgie was like super nice. She wouldn't have been mean to anybody, so there was no need to kill her. The TMK finally reveals himself to Sam before he kidnaps her and takes her to the place where Jason dumped his father's body, intending to kill her. When the car goes partially over a bridge, he escapes and Sam is saved by Lucky Spencer before the car goes over. He flees to the warehouse where Sam was believed to have killed him years earlier. After a confrontation with Nicholas, who wanted revenge for Emily's death, He tried to get away, but he ended up falling off the catwalk and hangs himself to death. Ew, I don't quite remember it like that, but all right. After this, the Alcazar presence becomes non-existent in Port Charles. Many mob organizations began vying for the valuable Alcazar waterfront piers that Sky owned as the controller of all Alcazar's money and estates, but she ended up selling the piers to Rick Lansing before she left town with her daughter. I didn't know that Rick owned everything. So the employees he had was Dylan Quartermain, Damian Spinelli, former computer hacker, Johnny O'Brien, who's deceased, Faith Rosco, who's deceased.
No, she's not.
Former partner of Lorenzo, and Lena was a hit woman. And then enemies is the Corinthos Morgan mob family, Rosco mob family, Sonny Corinthos, Jason Morgan, Faith Rosco, and Sam McCall.
Even though Faith was just listed as
His
a friend, too. Frenemies. All right, so the next mob family is the Balkans.
Ugh.
This is alphabetical, guys. So Theo Hoffman arrived in Port Charles in 2010 wanting revenge against Brenda Barrett. Okay, so twice now,
Brenda's the reason for the mob issues.
Yes, Brenda Barrett for the death of his son, Alexander Janik. For the death of his son, Alexander. When Theo first arrived in Port Charles, he posed as a patient at General Hospital that was suffering from severe illness, but tests proved that nothing was wrong with Theo, and he was eventually diagnosed with a psychological condition called hypochondria by Dr. Robin Scorpio Drake. At the end of the ruse with the hospital, he goes to Diane Miller, wanting to join her law firm, Mason, Petrovich, and Miller. He was hired and soon given a wrongful death lawsuit that had been filed against Brenda and Dante Falconeri. He used his position as Brenda's attorney to get closer to her to exact his revenge. Theo had been behind the whole lawsuit and it was just part of his plan for revenge. Brenda had dated Alexander in the past, but after finding out his connections with the mob and trafficking, she left him and fled to New York, where Dante became her bodyguard. Dante and Brenda were not aware of their mutual connection. His son and his ex-wife, fiance. Lover. Brenda found out that she was pregnant. Alexander became obsessed with Brenda and followed her to New York. After stalking her, he ended up in confrontation with Dante and he shot and killed Alexander. He then covered up the crime by dumping Alexander's body in the swamp and telling Brenda that no one would ever find out what happened. Theo wanted Brenda to pay for Alexander's death. He finally made his move on Brenda's wedding day to Sonny Corinthos, and everyone found out that Theo was really the international criminal named the Balkan. After the wedding, he had a bomb planted in Sonny and Brenda's limo. He then kidnapped and drugged Sam Morgan due to her resemblance to Brenda. No, she doesn't look like Brenda.
They have dark hair. That's the only resemblance.
Petite. Yeah. Brenda got into the limo, and right before it exploded, she was taken out of the limo and kidnapped. Sonny was devastated, thinking that Brenda had died the same way that his first wife, Lily, had died. When the body was recovered from the car, they found out it had been Sam in the limo and not Brenda, devastating Jason. But luckily, due to the bomb-proofing of the limo, Sam survived and was taken to the hospital. How do you bomb-proof the limo? Jason went with Sam to the hospital, and Sonny turned his attention to finding Brenda. Theo took Brenda to a cave compound and demanded to know the whereabouts of his grandson. Brenda believed she had a miscarriage in her 7th month of pregnancy and told him so, but Theo would not believe her. During this time, it is also revealed that Susan Stanwyck, Brenda's longtime friend and director of her charity, the Alliance to Save Exploited Children, was really Theo's wife and just as eager to avenge her son Alexander's death as Theo was. Her whole plan for getting close to Brenda had been for revenge and to get her hands on her grandson because she knew that Brenda had been pregnant and that her son was still alive. What Brenda had thought to be a miscarriage due to a high fever had really been Suzanne drugging her so that she could induce labor early and take the baby. After interrogating Brenda in the cave, Theo learned that Suzanne had known about the pregnancy and interrogated her. However, Suzanne explained to Theo that she didn't want to add any more sorrow to him after losing Alexander, and Theo seemed partially satisfied with that answer, until he learned that Suzanne had been with Brenda during her pregnancy, and he became convinced that Suzanne had taken the baby away so Theo would never know him. Whew, okay. Sonny, Jason, and Dante managed to track Theo down to the cave compound, and they rescued Brenda. Theo uses Suzanne as a human shield and manages to get away while Jason and Dante chase after him. Sonny rushes Brenda to the hospital. When Theo learned that Sonny was close to finding him, he injected Brenda with a deadly neurotoxin and intended to kill her before making his escape. Thanks to the efforts of Dr. Patrick Drake, a successful antidote was made and Brenda recovered. Theo then turned his attention to finding his grandson and in the process tried to kill Suzanne, but due to her connections with some of his men, she survived. Jason also began chasing after Theo, wanting revenge for what he did to Sam. He confronted the Trujillo crime family, who they had once had a truce with because they had facilitated Theo's stay in Port Charles. Rudy Trujillo had told Jason that Johnny Zaccara had been the one to plant the bomb in the limo explosion that hurt Sam and confronted Johnny. Meanwhile, Theo had gotten closer to his grandson's location. He found him before he could meet his grandson. Suzanne killed Theo by slitting his throat. She then put into motion a plan that would keep Brenda from her son and allow Suzanne to raise him. Suzanne takes Lucien, a decoy son, to Brenda and convinces Brenda that Lucien is her son so that she can move to Switzerland with Brenda's real son, Alex Scott. Sonny is weary of Suzanne and her story when Suzanne reveals the truth about what really happened the night of Brenda's supposed miscarriage. Brenda angrily screams at her and kicks her out. Brenda bonds with Lucien while Suzanne makes plans for her and Alec to leave the country. Sonny remains skeptical and encourages Brenda to get a DNA test on Lucien to confirm Suzanne's story. Brenda finally agrees to the DNA test, and knowing this act would prove her story wrong. Suzanne kidnaps Lucia, devastating Brenda. Brenda finally agrees to the DNA test, and knowing that this act would prove her story wrong, Suzanne kidnaps Lucien, devastating Brenda. Sonny and Dante finally manage to track Suzanne down to Texas, and they take Carly Corinthos with them to bring Brenda's son home. While in Texas, they learn that Lucien was the decoy, and Alec was in fact... Can they stop referring to this baby as a decoy? Alec was in fact Brenda's real son. Sonny and Dante caught up with Suzanne and confront her while Carly tends to Alec. Soon the ordeal is over and they return to Port Charles, and Brenda is reunited with her real son, Alec. She confronts Suzanne about her actions one last time before Suzanne is put in prison for the kidnapping. And the Balkan employees were... Oh, there's a lot. Oh, Siobhan Spencer? Forced to work with Theo because Theo had her sister held hostage. Why wasn't that just mentioned? Okay. Slavek, Ronan O'Reilly, Marco Jules, Jerry Jacks, Hugo, Horvat, Giovanni, Dimitri, Carlo, Sean Butler, okay, Anton Bankovich, and Babik. And the enemies, all the other mob families. The Corinthos Morgan family, Jason Morgan, Sonny Corinthos, Brenda Barrett, Dante Falconeri, and Sean Butler.
Wow.
Yeah.
Novak Mob Family. The Novak Mob Family is a fictional mob organization on the ABC soap General Hospital headed by Vincent Novak. Vincent Novak is the head of the 5 Points Gang and appeared at the Five Families meeting in August and September 2015, August 2017, and May 2021. On January 4th, 2021, Jason tells Brick he will need to meet with the Five Families now that Sonny is presumed dead. Brick tells Jason the Novaks started moving product to town. They began laying groundwork last week. Jason and Brick check on a warehouse on 46th Allen Street where the Novaks were seen. They find the Novaks all killed inside the warehouse. Cyrus Renault implied that he had the Novaks killed. Vincent Novak started going after Corinthos shipments, and Jason bombed a Novak warehouse in retaliation. Jason and Carly feel pressured into getting married to show the other families that they are both powerful. On June 30th, Vincent's favorite nephew Joey tried to pressure Spinelli into joining the Novaks. Jason beat up Joey as a message for Vincent. On September 3rd, Joey was punched by Spinelli when causing trouble in the Savoy. Joey is sent to Poland. I'm like, Portland? Why are we sending that to Spinelli's old house? Joey is sent to Poland. On September 17th, Vincent is killed in a limo explosion meant for Jason and Carly. Oh, there's more. On November 4th, Cyrus tells Sonny that Jason's older brother...
Joey.
Why can't I not read now? On November 4th, Cyrus tells Sonny that Joey's older brother, Paulie, had an accident where his brakes didn't work and he was killed. Joey is taking over the Novak family. Joey returns from Poland and threatens Carly at the Savoy. He is thrown out and later severely beaten by Marshall. Sonny threatens Joey in the hospital, and he agrees to step down as head of the Novaks and gives Sonny his territory. Joey will have to deal with the Novaks himself. Joey isn't seen again. And his only employee is Nikki, who's an associate. And his only enemies is the Corinthos mob family.
No, I think it's the other 4 families, but okay.
I would assume as well.
And now my favorite, the Rosco mob family.
Never heard someone get so excited about a mob family.
But this is why I think that Dex is Faith's.
All right, go ahead.
Faith Rosco arrived in Port Charles in late 2002 to take down Sonny Corinthos, who had Faith's husband killed. Due to her husband's death, Faith had access to limited funds and often required a partner in her vendetta. Rosco quickly teamed up with Ned Ashton, who shared just as much hate for Sonny. However, this was short-lived as Faith nearly brought Ned into a mob war, quickly ending their partnership.
Did they hook up? Because that would be great if Dex was Quartermain and Rosco.
I don't remember. I don't think so. We did a whole thing on Ned.
I don't think they did either, but I think that they should have that as a backstory that they did.
I would be okay with we didn't see it on screen. Hold on. Let's quickly hop over to... No.
That would be so good.
Okay. Oh, that would be. I like that. Okay. I don't even know where to go from. Okay. Faith then teamed up with Rick Lansing, with whom she had a one-night stand. After Rick married Elizabeth Weber, Faith realized she had true feelings for him. She then pushed a pregnant... Okay, I don't like this part, obviously. She then pushed a pregnant Elizabeth down a flight of stairs and had a miscarriage. When Faith poisoned Elizabeth, Rick had her arrested to avoid going to prison. Faith made a deal with the FBI to bring down Lorenzo Alcazar. Part of the deal was to pose as Sonny's mistress. I'm going to go with... It's not going to sound good why I like Faith, but there was just... She was very Ava. Like, the presence was... Ava and Faith. Okay, I guess I just am really drawn to that kind of mobster woman. Cool.
Girl crush.
Yeah. After turning on Sonny and later Alcazar, Faith began working on her own plan, and at the next meeting of the 5 families, Faith had them all killed. She gloated about her accomplishments to Sonny until Sonny informed his enforcer, Jason Morgan, had survived the shooting. Faith panicked and offered to work against Alcazar. Sonny refused and pulled out his gun, but he could not seem to pull the trigger. Rosco went to Alcazar to help her leave town. Alcazar secretly planned to blow up the yacht that she was on and frame Jason and Sonny for her murder. Alcazar's plan failed when the PCPD found Faith alive in the harbor. She was arrested once again and begged her ex, Justice Ward, to help her. Justice agreed, and as the two had a turbulent past. When a prison inmate stabbed Faith, she was rushed to General Hospital and from there escaped. Justice hid her in the basement of the Quartermain mansion, but Faith soon met her end in March 2005, where she was shot and killed by an assassin hired by A.J. Quartermain. I still think she's alive. So her employees were Ned Quartermain, former partner, Rick Lansing, former partner, Lorenzo Alcazar was a former partner, Xander Smith was a former bodyguard, Nico Dane was a former assassin, William Peavy was an associate, Royal was an associate, and Joseph Sorrell was Roscoe's boss. And then enemies were all of the crime families and Reese Marshall, who's really Caroline, the one that Carly stole her name from, right, was Reese. Sky Chandler Quartermain, Elizabeth Weber Baldwin, Emily Quartermain, Courtney Matthews, and AJ Quartermain.
I'm not as excited as you are. I'm sorry.
That was very anticlimactic. I'm sorry.
Apologize.
But you have to admit that watching it, it was just a good story. I don't know. It was good TV, even though it was horrible things that she was doing. I'm not endorsing everything Faith did.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Then the Ruiz mob family. The Ruiz family arrived in Port Charles, New York in 2005. Hector Ruiz was originally head of the family. However, when his son Javier was shot and killed by rival mobster Jason Morgan, Hector refused to retaliate. In turn, Hector's second son, Manny, killed him and took over the organization. Manny also became fixated on Jason's girlfriend, Sam McCall, stalking her at every opportunity. Ultimately, Manny died in 2006 when Jason threw him off the roof of General Hospital. After Manny's death, a man who looked exactly like him came to town.
It's crazy how this keeps happening in the mob.
He even had identical tattoos. Sam was afraid it was Manny, and that he wasn't really dead. It was revealed, however, that it was Manny's identical twin brother, Matteo, who got away from the mob and became a Catholic priest. He eventually left town in 2007 and hasn't been heard from since. So the family is Hector, who is deceased, Javier, who's deceased, Manny, who's deceased, and Matteo is son of Hector, identical twin of Manny. And his enemies are the Corinthos Morgan mob family, Sonny Corinthos, Jason Morgan, Lucky Spencer, Sam McCall, Sky Chandler Quartermain, and Carly Corinthos.
And then the Scully mob family. I feel like this is the one that we've heard possibly
most about,
like with the Smiths. Oh, the Smith mob family wasn't mentioned. Okay. Oh, well.
I feel like that wouldn't be a minor one. That would have been the predecessor.
Yeah.
That should have a whole write-up like Sonny's.
They probably do. But they just haven't been mentioned recently, so we didn't jump into it.
Right.
Sonny Corinthos grew up in Bensonhurst with his mother and stepfather. His stepfather was abusive, and Sonny left home at 16. He met Joe Scully, who took him in and taught him the business. Joe groomed Sonny into a mobster, while Joe's son, Joe Scully Jr., grew jealous of Sonny's relationship with his father. One day, Sonny returned home to visit his mother and found that Deke had beaten her very badly. He confided in Joe, and Joe had him killed. Joe sent Joe Jr. to Atlantic City to run the Seabury strip club he owned. One of the strippers there was Teresa, the sister of then FBI agent John McBain. John tried to get Teresa to quit her job at the club, but she ended up dead. Sonny was found by the police standing over her body with a gun. Sonny, however, claims that Joe Jr. had actually killed Teresa, and Joe Sr. had Sonny take the fall for it, while he sent Joe Jr. to New Orleans. Joe Jr. claimed that Sonny did indeed kill Teresa. In 1995, Joe, now in Port Charles, causes problems for Sonny. Sonny, who has always thought of Joe as a father figure, now realizes that he betrayed him and is no longer on the same side. Lucy Coe is working with Sonny and Luke to run a scam on Joe, and Joe kidnaps Lucy. Luke, Sonny, and Damian Smith save her, but Joe fires his gun at Sonny. He misses, however, and hits Sonny's father, Mike, instead. Sonny, in return, fires his gun and shoots Joe, killing him. In 2012, Sonny's girlfriend, Connie Falconeri, tells him that Joe Jr. had raped her and gotten her pregnant when she was 17. Meanwhile, John McBain blames Sonny for his sister's death, but Sonny tells John that Joe Jr. was the one who had killed Teresa, not him. John goes to New Orleans to find Joe Jr., and Sonny sends his right-hand man, Jason Morgan, there to find him as well. Jason ends up bringing Joe Jr. back to Port Charles. Sonny ties Joe Jr. up in his coffee warehouse and is about to kill him when John McBain comes in with the police and has Joe Jr. arrested for Teresa's murder. Joe Jr. is then extradited to Atlantic City and put into jail. Joe Jr. tells his son, Trey Mitchell, aka Joey III, that he is innocent of the murder and that Sonny is actually the one who is guilty. He also tells him that Sonny took his inheritance from his father, money, power, and the business. He instructs his son to get close to Sonny's daughter, Christina, and marry her so that they can have access to everything they lost to Sonny. Later, Joe Jr. kidnaps Christina and tries to kill her so that his son will inherit everything since he is Christina's husband. So messed up. And they had funneled all of Sonny's assets to Christina. Trey, however, saves Christina when he shoots his own father. Joe Jr. then goes on the run from police. It is later revealed that Joe is working for a man who appears to be Duke Lavery, but is actually Cesar Faison in disguise.
So messed up.
In October 2012, Jason Morgan shoots Joe Jr. in self-defense, and Faison, disguised as Lavery, later tries to shoot him again, but Joe runs away. Joe Jr. later dies from his injuries. And also that was, if you go listen to our 411 about the mob princess, that gets further into detail about the Trey and Christina relationship. And their employees are Sonny Corinthos, former associate. I feel like that should, like you said, like the predecessor, the one who taught Sonny everything he knows. But then the enemies are the Corinthos mob family, Lucy Coe, Sonny Corinthos, Connie Falconeri, deceased, Jason Morgan, John McBain, Damian Smith, and Luke Spencer.
So in February 2011, Rudy Trujillo...
You have to say the Trujillo mob family.
Oh, sorry. Trujillo mob family. In February 2011, Rudy Trujillo told Jason that Johnny Zaccara had been the one to plant the bomb in the limo explosion that hurt Sam. In March, Jason confronted the Trujillo crime family, who they had a truce with because they had facilitated Theo's stay in Port Charles. He met with Old Man Trujillo and found out the Trujillos referred Johnny to Theo.
Oh, I'm already confused. I don't remember this, but it was
2000. Johnny worked for Theo.
Yes.
Okay. So this was a long time ago, but
it was 2011 in February. I got married in May, so I was not focused on GH at the time, and if I was not paying detailed attention to.
Paying attention to General Hospital. Like your wedding's more important than this.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
I know.
Shannon's fired. Can't believe it. In May, Anthony told Jason that the hit woman who killed Brandon told him she was hired by Old Man Trujillo. Anthony pretended to lose track of the conversation. Jason reminded him they were talking about the Trujillo. Anthony said that Trujillo was using Michael and Abby, to pit the Corinthos and Zaccara families against each other. Trujillo hoped that this would start a mob war when Sonny went after the Zaccaras for trying to frame Abby for Brandon's murder. In July, Jason assigns Spinelli, I love Spinelli, in his Jackal PI persona to keep an eye on Luzetta's bakery to keep Spinelli distracted. Jason says there's another crime family who are even more dangerous than the Zaccaras in town. They are called the Trujillos. Jason suspects the bakery is being used as a front. Later, Spinelli sees Johnny with a mysterious package leaving the bakery and suspects him of working with the Trujillos. In August, Jason tells Sonny that the agreement with the Trujillo family is holding. Sonny expects Old Man Trujillo to double-cross them with Anthony. Jason says the man just wants to be left alone, and Sonny thinks Trujillo wants Sonny and Anthony to attack each other, and then he would move in. I mean, it makes sense. Sonny tells Jason to make sure that Anthony isn't working with Old Man Trujillo, and that Jason will stop any shipments that are landing. Sonny doesn't want to use the warehouse because he is worried Anthony will sabotage it. Later, Sonny accuses Johnny of running a drug operation. Johnny refuses to answer. Sonny infers that by denying any involvement with the Trujillo drug ring, that means Johnny is saying that Anthony is behind the whole operation. Sonny will have to deal with Anthony. In September, Lucy tells Dante that Detective Sly Thomas got some info on Joey Bruzetta. He was just released from prison. Turns out he was a cellmate with one of the Trujillos. I don't know how they all kept this straight.
I don't know either.
In September, Johnny meets Joey's partner, JT, in an alley at Pier 14. JT was expecting Joey to show up. As Johnny just killed Joey, he says Johnny will likely be late. Joey will likely be late.
Too many J's.
Yes, exactly. JT doesn't want any part of what went on between Johnny and Joey. So Johnny tells JT that he works for Johnny now.
Why
and
is there
will
no
do
Bob?
what Johnny says or he will die. Boom. So Johnny wants the details about the other men from Pentonville, Joey and Daryl. There we got a nice D, Daryl, who was involved in the bakery scheme. Stop it. Okay. JT is worried that Anthony will kill him if he talks, but he admits that Anthony is behind the whole plan. Johnny also wants to know the setup. JT explains that they are hiding drugs in the flour at Luzetta Bakery. Stop! Specifically the bags of flour with stars where the apostrophes should be in the word Luzetta's. I do remember this. I remember this. Okay. There is also a boat with uncut drugs.
NSYNC had stars instead of an apostrophe.
What
are we talking about? They were drug sellers. Drug smuggling?
Drug smuggling. There is also a boat with uncut drugs in the harbor they can't get to and retrieve the old packing houses on Pier 14. Rudy Trujillo is the contact. Johnny wants JT to call Rudy. Isn't that...
Rudy was...
No, who's the NSYNC guy with a...
JC?
There you go. So it was JC instead of JT running the drugs.
No, JC wouldn't do that.
Johnny wants JT to call Rudy and arrange a meeting. Before Rudy arrives, Johnny gives JT a gun for protection. Johnny calls Rudy's name and forces JT to shoot Rudy. Rudy shoots back and hits JT in the abdomen. Johnny tells a dying JT that he lied when he told JT that everything would be okay. Well, that wasn't very nice.
I know.
Later, Lucky tells Mac that JT and Rudy's bodies were found at the packaging plant on Pier 14. Lucky and Mac both think it's a little too convenient and was likely a setup. Johnny goes to Anthony and tells him he cleaned up his mess. Joey, JT, and Rudy are dead. He made it appear that someone wanted to silence JT and Rudy before they started talking. He planned to frame Sonny by putting drugs from the boat in the harbor from the drugs that were in the boat in the harbor into the Corinthos Morgan coffee warehouse. Woo!
And that is the 8 mob families that they have identified as the... Oh, we used General Hospital fandom. Forgot to say that at the beginning. The General Hospital fandom has identified as the 8 minor mob families. We've kind of mentioned a few others in between.
As I was reading the Trujillos, I remember the stamp on the bag, the flower, but all the JTs and what I was like...
many J's. Joe Scully, Joe Jr., Joe the Third, who's actually Trey. Thank you for changing your name to Trey. Ay, ay, ay. So yeah, I'm really upset with the writing about Faith too. People are like, why does Shannon like her?
I'm sorry. Again? Shannon's going to do her own write-up eventually. All the reasons
just
she
go
loves
back
Faith.
And watch her. It's So join us on Monday as we recap this week's shows.
Have a good weekend,
and we'll meet you at the pier. Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to go to pier54podcast.com to subscribe on your favorite platform. Don't forget to leave us a review.
And you can also follow us on many social media channels. Just search for Pier 54 Podcast. Also, we are not perfect, so if there is something that we missed or messed up, just let us know by emailing us at pier54podcast@gmail.com.